Good morning, children. This is your 8th physics. We are doing chapter number 9, force and pressure. So today we are going to learn about the different types of force. So children, force can be categorized into two. That is contact force and non-contact force. There are two categories of force, contact force and non-contact force. Under contact force, we are going to see three types of forces. First is muscular force, frictional force, and one more force is there, that is the mechanical force. Right, beta? And under non-contact force, we are going to learn about magnetic force, gravitational force, and electrostatic force. Right? So let's start with what is contact force. So as the word say, contact means the two objects which are interacting with each other, right? For the force to act, they are in contact with each other, right? So suppose you are applying force on the book. So which are the two objects which are interacting? It's your hand and the book. Suppose you are kicking the football. So which are the two objects which are interacting with each other so that force is produced? So it is your foot and the football, right? So similarly, contact force, they are those force in which the two interacting objects, they are in physical contact with each other. They are touching each other, right? The contact can also be with the help of a stick or a piece of rope. As you can see here, that a child is pulling a toy. He's applying force on the toy, and the toy is in contact with the child with the help of a rope. So this is an example of contact force, right? Now let's see the first example of contact force. The first category of contact force is the muscular force. Muscular force is the force applied by the muscles, right? It can be the muscles of a human body or it can be the muscles of animals, right? So what is muscular force? Muscular force can be defined as the force exerted by muscles of human or animal. They are called muscular force. Let's see some of the examples. So children, you might have seen that at the construction site, the workers, they carry bricks, they carry wood, they carry cement, then on. So what are they applying? They are applying force by the muscles. So that is an example for muscular force. Children, when you carry your school bag, when you're lifting your school bag, you are again lifting your bag, you're applying the force with your muscles. So lifting of your school bag by you is an example for muscular force. Then you might have seen the cart being pulled by a bullock, right? So similarly, there also muscular force is applied by the ox, right? So this is your muscular force. That is the force exerted by the muscles of a human or an animal body. And these are the examples. The second type of contact force, means the two objects are in contact, right, is the frictional force. So frictional force, children, is the force that acts opposite to the motion. Suppose the ball is moving, the football is rolling in the right side. So opposite to this, that is towards the left, a force will act, and that force is the force of friction. So what will friction do? Children, as it is acting opposite to the motion, means it is opposing motion, it is trying to stop motion. So what will it do? It will obviously, it is going to slow down the things. It is going to decrease the speed of the moving things, right? So only here we can take the example of a moving ball, right? If you kick the football, right, you will see that the football starts moving. And after some time, you will see that that rolling ball, it comes to motion by its own. Why? Because there was friction between the football and the ground. The football was moving like this, but there was frictional force opposite to it, which was continuously decreasing its speed, and finally the football came to rest because of the frictional force, right? So children, frictional force, it arises, it is produced because of the contact between the two surfaces. When the two surfaces are touching each other, right? Here the tire is touching with the ground. Here the pen is touching with the paper. So because of that, friction is produced, right? And because of this friction only, children, we are able to write on paper. So this is the biggest advantage of friction. Let's see some more examples of friction. So rolling ball along the ground, slowly it comes to rest. Why? Because of friction, right? You might have seen that scooters or cars, when their engine is put off, it comes to rest, right? Then you know that the wear and tear of the moving parts of the machine, you will see that the machine which are moving for the long time, it gets torn off. It can be with your shoes, it can be with the tires. That is, they get worn off and then you have to replace them, right? And children, the biggest advantage of friction is we are able to walk on the ground because of the friction between our foot and the ground. See, we are moving in this direction and friction is acting in opposite direction. Because of that only we are able to move. You might have seen children that when you stand, when you just put your foot on a sticky surface or on a wet surface, there are chances that you fall down. Why? Because on a wet or a sticky surface, the friction is less. Suppose you put stamp on a banana peel, केले के छिलके पे अगर आपका पैर आ जाता है, you might have seen that you slip down, right? Why? Because it was very smooth, it was very sticky, it was very wet. Friction was less. Friction वहां पे नहीं था, कम था. So हम गिर गए. So we are able to walk on the ground because of the friction. So this is your second type of contact force, and that is frictional force. Now, the third type of contact force is the mechanical force. So the mechanical force, children, it is the force which is produced by the machines, right? So all these machines, they get energy from either electricity, petrol, diesel, right? So here we are having an example for drill machine. So drill machine, it produces force. It is producing force, that is mechanical force, and it is using electricity. Here we are having a tractor and a crane. So these all are the examples of the mechanical forces. All the vehicles which are moving, the car which is moving, they all are the examples of mechanical force. So contact force are having three categories of forces. First is your muscular force, second is your frictional force, and third is your mechanical force. Okay, children. Now let's move further to non-contact force. So children, non-contact force, here the two bodies which are interacting with each other are not in physical contact with each other. They are not interacting with each other, right? There is some space between them. So the force in which the two interacting bodies, they are not in physical contact with each other. They act through a small space, right? Let's see the examples. The gravitational force. Here the apple on the tree and the ground, they are not touching each other, right? Electrostatic force, magnetic force. If you're having a magnet and if you place some iron nails, right, you are keeping it at some distance, then the magnet is attracting it with the magnetic force and then it sticks, right? So non-contact force are the force in which the two interacting bodies are not in direct physical contact, right, beta? So let's start with the first type of non-contact force, and that is magnetic force. Magnetic force. Let's define magnetic force. The force exerted by magnets is called magnetic force, right? Now we know that the magnet, it can attract another magnet and it can also attract the metals like iron, nickel, steel and cobalt, right? Which are not in direct contact with it, right? So this is an example for non-contact force. Children, we know that the like poles of the magnet means the same poles, south-south, they will repel each other. And the unlike poles of the magnet, that is north-south, they are going to attract each other. So this attraction and repulsion, they are nothing but they are compared to pull and push. So this is your magnetic force. So let's see some of the examples of magnetic force. Where magnetic force is used? Children, magnetic force is used to attract the iron scrap from the garbage, right? यहाँ से iron pieces are being separated. Then you know the maglev train. This maglev train, it is moving with the help of magnetic force. See children, on track, one pole of the magnet is there, and under the train or on the tires of the train, we are having the same pole of the magnet, right? Same poles, so they are like poles. So what will happen? They will repel each other. So children, it is seen that the maglev train, it moves few centimeter above the track. Okay, so this is your magnetic force, and this is a non-contact force. Let's talk about the electrostatic force. So children, electrostatic force is the force by which a charged body, it is a charged body is attracting, a charged body is applying a force on another charged or uncharged body. See, you might have done this activity. Take a scale and rub it on your dry hair. So when you are rubbing it, what are you doing? You are making it charged. And after that, if you bring that scale near small bits of paper, you will see that the paper are being attracted. So this force, because of which the charged plastic scale is attracting the uncharged paper, this force is known as electrostatic force. So electrostatic force is also, or it can also be attractive or repulsive, just like magnets, right? The same activity you can do with the help of comb. Children, try doing this at your home, right, beta? The last type of non-contact force is the gravitational force. So children, gravitational force is the force with which any two objects in this universe, they are attracting each other, they are pulling each other. That is gravitational force. So how you will define gravitational force? Gravitational force is the force with which any two objects, any two masses, they pull each other, right? See, it's you and your table, it's you and your mobile also exerting a gravitational force on each other. But you will say that, ma'am, the mobile is not moving towards me, the mobile is not getting attracted towards me, because children, for such a big attraction, for such a big force, you require the object of very big mass, right? If the mass of the object is not big, you will not see the object moving towards you. Force to lagega, but the force will be less. See, if we are sitting in the class, you and me, we are also having a gravitational force between each other. But you don't come attracted towards me. Why? Because your mass, my mass is not that huge. So force is less. Force is there, but it is less, right? So we can feel the gravitational force of Earth because it falls on the earth, it falls on the ground, right? Because that force is so high, the force is so big. Why it is big? Because the mass of the earth is very, very large. So for gravitational force to be large, the mass of the object should be very, very large, just like the mass of the earth, right? Okay, now let's see the importance of gravitational force. So children, it is because of the gravitational force that we are bound to the earth. हम earth पे हैं because of gravitational force. We are able to walk on the earth because of gravitational force. We are able to write on the paper because of that gravity, right beta? Now, weight, what is weight? Weight is nothing. Weight is the gravitational force by earth on us. That is weight. Right? The earth is revolving around the sun. Why? Because of gravitational force. The moon is revolving around the earth. That is also because of gravitational force, right? Okay. Now, children, here we are having one more term. That term is gravity. How will you define gravity? Gravity is that force with which the earth is attracting the other objects towards itself, right? Earth जिन objects को जैसे जैसे objects को अपनी तरफ attract करती है, उस force को हम क्या बोल देंगे? Gravity. और gravitational force में कोई भी दो objects एक दूसरे को attract करते हैं, that is gravitational force, right? Examples of gravity, examples of gravitational force. और उन दो objects में एक हो सकता है earth भी हो और हो सकता है एक दूसरा दोनों objects अलग हो, right? Examples of gravity are when you throw a ball, the ball always comes down. Why? Because of gravity. When you open the tap, the water always flows down. Why? Because of gravity, gravitational force by the earth towards the water. Whenever the apple falls, it always falls towards the earth because of the gravitational pull in the downward direction. Whenever your children you jump, you always land upon the earth because of the gravitational force, gravitational pull by the earth, right? So children, the magnetic and electrostatic force, you saw that it was repulsive or attractive, but the difference between the two forces is gravitational force is always attractive, but magnetic and electrostatic force, they may be attractive or they may be repulsive, right beta? So these were your three types of non-contact force. With this, we'll end our class here. Bye bye. Take care, beta.